Alright, so this video is about creating avatars for Nifty Island. I've been kind of requested to do just a little bit of a tutorial, try and do a easy to follow along tutorial. The hardest part I found with learning all this Blender and meshy stuff was just all the little things, trying to get it to upload to Nifty as an FBX. We're going to be working with this avatar here for the day. There'll be a few reasons that you'll see a bit down the track as to why I'm choosing this one. But here we've got just a few of the avatars that I've made, all using a similar process. But yeah, this one's for you, Sport. I'll try and make it as easy to follow along as I can. So, we're going to start over here on a website called Meshy. This is where we'll actually get just kind of the base model to work with. I'll just show you, this is the big dragon that I recently made just a couple of days ago. This here is kind of what we work with. You need to make sure, for example, if you're doing a human or a creature for Nifty, they're going to have to be standing on two legs and have two arms. Well, they don't have to have two arms, but for it to kind of look like it works properly, two arms is preferable. So using this command here will just kind of give you the basis for this pose, and you'll definitely want that for your FBX model. Definitely chuck that in there. You need the T pose. I don't even know why I put this one in. This one, it never turns out like that. I'll show you the original. This is what you first get, and that definitely ain't symmetrical. Nowhere near. Now, you can just use this model as it is, but you know, it's pretty it's alright, but it's kind of a bit ugly to look at. So step by step we can go through and fine tune some of the textures. Like you'll see here, if I flick through them, I'm fine tuning, you know, his belly goes from that to that, and then I'm fine tuning other bits one step at a time. Like I didn't like his mouth, so that's one thing I definitely wanted to work on. I think I did that in this stage. No, already getting lost here, bear with me. Aha, I think this one. There we go. So that's the original there. We'll just cut forward here. This is the original. So as it comes out, very much not symmetrical. Lots going on. Lots wrong. To fix all this up, you can use this tool here and kind of select just areas one at a time. And for example, I've done this one. We'll just put in our prompt. I usually make it kind of stand out a bit better. I like it to be a bit clearer. And hit retexture. gives you some examples here. It can be horrifying sometimes, as you can see here. But we'll just fast forward to when I got it right, which is this one. You know, got kind of a bit of teeth looking stuff going on. Thought I'd work on the eyes next, which I got done here. Same process for the eyes. And then that's when I got to working on stuff like the belly. All of this looks pretty good from the get-go, so I left that. Now, as you'll notice, I'm only working on one side of the face. The reason being trying to get two sides looking the same or kind of working well is very difficult to do. So, kind of fix the front up there, the nose. I just work on one side, meeting it roughly the halfway point, except for items like the chest. It definitely works better to retexture the whole chest. But what you see from this line that way doesn't matter. We're just working with the right side of the body. When we're happy with the right side, we go ahead and download as an FBX. I've played around with OBJ and GLB. Just not a fan to work with when it comes to rigging and all the textures. FBX is very easy to use. Sportist, I'm going to have to delete that box or blur that box out. Oh my gosh. I'll check your message after. But yes. Where was I? FBX, very easy to use. So we're going to download. I'm going to go flick on over to downloads. Here it is. It comes as a zip file. You can't extract a name that long, so we're just going to go YouTube demo FBX. Yeah, you have to make the name shorter because it tries to put that text there as a name, and Windows doesn't like it. So we've renamed it. Now we can extract it all. And there's our FBX and the file to go with it. I'll open it up in Blender shortly, the model. The first thing I actually like to do is just do a little quick edit with the texture, colors, and contrast, etc. I'm just using a built-in Windows editor. If I'm trying to do color, like change the color, I use Photoshop. That's another thing I can go into if need be. Pretty simple stuff. But I am just going to make some quick adjustments to make the texture pop a bit better in game. Which I like to make the shadows a bit darker. If I'm using a kind of a bright color, like, and I'm trying to make it gold or something like that, I'll bring the highlights up. Bit more contrast. And just play around with it. Kind of making it look a bit more shiny. Gosh, looks like elephant skin there. And then we save a copy. We've got to go back to the path where the original one was, and I usually just save it as 01 so I can see the difference, leaving it as a PNG. Quit out of that. You'll see that's already there with a bit more, contrast going on. I think it looks better. Now to import the FBX, just go to Blender. I'm using Blender 4.1. I think there might be a new one out, but haven't played with it yet. And Blender, oh gosh. First time I opened this up, I was just in shock. There's so much going on. Just click out of that little screen that starts at the start. It's always there. So's this cube, so's the camera angle, and so's the light. We're just going to delete all of them. Just click on them, press delete, gone. They don't matter for what we are doing. Now, first things first, you're going to want to import FBX and go to downloads. We've got to remember what we named that, which I've forgotten. What do we name it? YouTube or something? Yeah, it'll be down with Y. YouTube Demo FBX. We're just going to go click through there, open the FBX. You'll see the images weren't there because we're just loading in the model, but they do load in the Blender with the texture. Just it's behind the scenes at the moment because we're in layout. If you want to have a quick look to see what the texture looks like, just switch to shading, use your little drag tool here, and you can see what it looks like in Blender. Now, first things first, we're going to go layout, making sure it's in objective mode. Select your whole dragon, your whole model. Now you remember how I said we were just focusing on the right hand side of our model. This side we're literally just going to get rid of using a simple tool over on the right. So we've selected our dragon, select, just by clicking on it. Down here we go modifiers, add modifier, generate mirror. It comes on the X axis to begin with. We don't want that one, we want the Y axis. And if you just click Y, it kind of looks a bit funky. We want to hit axis Y, bisect Y, and it brings the model, it just mirrors it on the right hand side. We can mirror different axes if you want, but for this meshy to FBX to Blender setup, I use this one and this one. We're just going to check how it looks when we go back to, like when we get the textures on, we'll go back to shading, and you'll see using this tool, it actually adjusts that picture, the texture picture that we were editing before. It adjusts it. It mirrors that picture too, so we don't have to try and fix up the textures. So you'll see he's kind of got a narrowish head, but it looks good. There's adjustments that you can make to kind of adjust the center point on the model. So we could make it so instead of mirroring right there, you could mirror, you know, a few mil this way or a few mil that way to make his head or his whole body wider, narrower. Some models you'll see the nose will be like doubled up, and there's adjustments for that too. I may as well throw that in. I'll quickly Control Z to go back to our original model, and I'll show you how to make those now. We need to go back to layout, object mode for this. Just select the model and move it. There's shortcuts for all this, but I'm just showing you what I'm actually doing here. We're going move, and we could drag the model just a little bit this way. It's a little bit of a guessing game because we just have to wait and see what it looks like. We're going to drag the model, as you can see, just off center. Right click on the model, set origin, to geometry. Actually, set origin to geometry. Sorry, my apologies. We're gonna have another go at that. All right. So we're gonna have another go at that. I stuffed up before. I'm still pretty new to this. But if we're wanting to offset where our mirror bisects, we can click move and drag our model just off center from that just a little bit, and then right click on the model, right click, set origin to 3D cursor. So now if we go back to our modifier, it's already sitting there ready to go. We can go select our modifiers, and it's a different look. Now he's wider. It has mirrored it a little bit further to the left on his nose, and this is what he looks like. You might not want that. It's more, some models, they aren't very symmetrical in their shape, and they could look like this to begin with, and you've got to shift the geometry. Oh, excuse me. You've got to shift the geometry in order to get a narrower head, or just make it look right. Definitely something to have a play around with. Alright. So, I'm just going to leave it like that for now. We get the idea. That is the texture that the model came with. We want to change that to the one with the better contrast. So I usually do the bisect and mirroring back here as my first step. And then we switch back to a different one. Gosh. Alright, so we switch back to material next, because we're wanting to apply that adjusted contrast image to this model. To do that, yep, we're in shading tab. We go down to material. Here we've got something that says base color. You just click on that. Locate under texture, the tab image texture. And at the moment, it's just the original one. It's got the 0. We want to go gosh, I've done this like 1,000 times. Yeah, so we want to go there, and it shows we've got the original there. Now what we want to do is come over here. Why isn't it showing it? Ah, righto. So we go from this screen here over to materials. Here it shows base color is image 0. We're wanting to click on that. and locate under the texture here, image texture. There's a heap of settings to play with here, but we're going to get rid of that image texture and open using this one. Go back and locate the adjusted one, and we're going to just poke that in there. Now we've got one with the better contrast and just touched up a little bit, which I reckon looks better. Now we have our model. We have it mirrored to be symmetrical. At the moment, he's a pretty wide head. I showed you how to adjust that. It's not too hard, but it takes a little bit of just learning. And we've got our texture all finished. Now we can export our unrigged FBX. To that, you go File, Export, FBX. I'm going to just save it here. We're going to call it Unrigged Dragon for YouTube, so we know what we're doing. Now the most important step here to keep the texture when you export is under path mode. Instead of auto, you want to be on copy, and you want to check this one so it turns blue. Embed textures, and then we're good to go. Definitely don't miss this step. Export. That takes a couple of seconds. Just going to reload my island. Next step, we go to Actor-Core AccuRig. This is a download, not a web tool. A lot of people use Maximo, which is really good. It would work perfectly fine for this model, but I've found just a few things that Maximo cannot do. Like if you've got a character with really small arms, it can't place the shoulders and the elbows and the wrists very well. Makes your character look very distorted. But here, AccuRig, free download, it's worked really well for rigging a T-posed character. Alright, so we're just going to click on that, navigate to where our FBX is, which was this one, the unrigged dragon. Textures are all done. Gonna load it in. Alright. Now, for some strange reason, Meshy always puts your axis off to the right. Easy fix with AccuRig. Oh gosh, that sound. I can't even fit through the door. I'm that big. Yes, so as I was saying, Actor-Core, all you have to do is rotate the axis here till it's facing forward. I always go for symmetry so that we don't have one arm doing one thing, the other one doing the other. After we've selected those, just hit body rig. All of this stuff that I'm doing on AccuRig, I was playing around building bones in Blender, which is useful to know. I can do another video on that later. But if you're looking at pumping through a few avatars and stuff like that, it is a lot easier to use this program. I might just speed this bit up because it takes a little bit of time to load. It's very similar to Mixamo. Just a bit more powerful, I reckon. Come on. Come on. Come on. Sits on 65% every time. Whilst we're doing that, I will just show you an example of a model. Actually, it was image. Where's my little beast? I'll show you an example of a model that made me start looking at an alternative for Maximo, because Maximo just would not rig it. This little dude there. Gonna have to switch to a tiny model just so I can get a bit closer. See how small his arms are? He's like a little Pokemon. Those little arms, Maximo, I tried so many different combinations, it just, wouldn't have it. He was like a big square, an angry square by the time I was finished with him. So that's how I stumbled across this one. Made everything a lot easier. The rigging has done its automatic job. My particular dragons, I have to adjust the knees and ankles, which this part was a bit tricky to begin with, because if you just go left to right like this, it quite often can put them not where you're expecting. So I always try and find an angle where you can put it and it can't be on any other part of the body because of the angle you're kind of looking from. So we've got our knees, ankles. If we were looking from the side on here, it'll probably put them in the center, which doesn't work. You got to come over here and look outwards, and then you can select the ankle. Feet are normally pretty good. Elbows, hands, they're good. Shoulders, they're good. In Nifty, it does have mouth movement, so I generally bring the neck down to about there, or else the mouth just gets all distorted. You definitely want this one above the mouth and this one below the mouth. Yeah, shoulders, and that one. I'm just going to say that one because I don't know the name. Alright, I generally also would bring these a little bit further down to the center of the leg so that it doesn't stretch the textures as much when he's walking. To do that, I'll kind of... There we go. Kind of want them in the center, or else I've noticed your textures will stretch when you're walking and stuff like that. Hand rig, we're just doing 0 because we don't really have fingers on Nifty as far as I'm aware. And go next, and it'll just automatically apply those bones. We can close this one up now. And wait for this to rig. Let's just have a look at some of the things I've spat out. Look at this. Look at it. We got that going on there. Like, I mean, I kind of want to build something with this because it's that freaking hilarious. And this dude. It's like a little, what do you call it? Sonic the Hedgehog dragon. Dear. These are some of my first attempts. This one's cute. I like this. I better upload that one. I like that. This looks like a little dinosaur man. I forgot all about these actually. I might have a play with that. It's pretty cool. That was my photo I was working off. What is this? Ugh. Look at that. Little dragon tailed dick. Well, anyway. Back to ActuCore. And he's rigged. So we can see now all these different poses. Go over to acting. These are just the ones that are built in. You can download more. We can see he's got a little bit of belly kind of roll going on, but he is a pretty big dragon. I just looked at that and went, yep, I'm happy with that. His arms work well. And yeah, his wings are attached to his arms. They move around, which is really cool. Your character might not have wings, but you can work with other things. Like you could have a shield or something on your arm. It'd have a pretty similar effect. We just go export FBX. I always select Blender. I tried that my first go and it worked, so I have not selected anything but Blender from now on. And embed texture. Export. And we're going to change the name to rigged. Save. I'm just going to quickly open this back up in Blender to show you what the bones actually look like inside your rigged character. Delete all those. Import FBX. Back to downloads. If I can find it. And upload our rigged character. Just puts it straight in as a T-pose. It's standard. If we go over here, we can actually see inside the character. These little orange ones here, our armature, that's our bones. That's what they look like. That's what ActuCore has put in for us. And if you want to have a play around with different poses and what it might look like, you can select those bones and move them. Oh, not that one. I'm going to select that one. Pose mode. Pose mode, sorry. I broke that bone. I broke that dragon bone. But here we can play around with the pose. See how it all looks. Snap his arm right off, because why not? They should be linked properly. Yeah. One thing I forgot to mention when first texturing and mirroring the model was, if we go back to object mode, if you want to change the size of the model, I usually do it before I rig it. If it's rigged, you just want to click A on your keyboard to select all while in object mode. And scale, you can adjust the width using this slider, or the depth using that one, or the height if you want to make a weird looking kangaroo. A little pouch going on there. But if you just want to make it overall bigger or smaller, keeping the same ratios, you just grab the white circle. I've been making my female ones a bit smaller and the male ones a bit bigger. Yeah, very simple. I'm not going to save that because I was happy with the size it was before. And the rest of it's pretty straightforward. We can just drop our FBX into Nifty Create tool. I find these ones don't take too long to upload, but I am on Aussie. NBN, it's not the best. That error there is not from the model. That right there is a error from Nifty. It doesn't usually show that. And there we have it. That's just the basic run through of working with FBX. All the other file types, grr, not a fan. But FBX is very friendly, and this is the end result. Hope that helps. Thanks for watching.